It is because of this that I, from now on, will be referring to my left wing opponents, my liberal opponents, my Democrat opponents, the Never Trumpers. I will be referring to them from now on as, you know what the hell, let's just go ahead and straight up call them the infected.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. A Fox News alert: American politics was thrown into complete chaos, perhaps permanently, about 3 hours ago, when a grand jury in Manhattan, one of the most liberal cities in America, a place where 80% voted for Joe Biden in the last election, decided to indict Biden's political opponent in the upcoming election, the Republican frontrunner, a man who leads by 30 points in polls, Donald Trump. And the jury did this at the urging of a man called Alvin Bragg. He's the Manhattan district attorney who has been famous so far by making the city much more dangerous by refusing to enforce laws against crimes like robbery and rape. Now, we don't know at this hour what the indictment says. We don't know specifically what the charges are, but previous news reports suggest they will emanate from an alleged payment 7 years ago, a payment that federal regulators said violated no law, but that Alvin Bragg apparently believes is a crime. Either way, the net result is Donald Trump is the first former president of the United States ever to be indicted. So no matter what happens next, we can be certain there is no coming back from this moment. There could be retaliation from red states. The governor of Florida has already said, Ron DeSantis has already issued a statement saying that he will not participate in any extradition of Donald Trump to New York. That's apparently scheduled for next week. As you can probably tell, we're not certain of the full outlines of the story, but we know this moment.
Guys, John Claymore here. Now, really quick, before we get started, I want you to know right now that I have done 2 videos on this topic about, let's just say, Donald Trump possibly being indicted or arrested. And, of course, I've talked about the ramifications of that. I will be leaving that in the description box. I forgot to mention the video from last night. I will also be leaving that one in the comment section. But just know that right there was mostly a reaction to what was going on. But don't worry, that video will not be pulled or anything, mainly because what I said in that video is 100% true. However, I do think that this video, this topic deserves a little bit more of a deeper dive, so that there's what we're doing now. Not to mention the fact the video on the Restrict Act will be out later on this afternoon, possibly right around 5. You're going to hear that it's supposed to come out at 3, but you'll catch it a little bit later on that I had to kind of pull back on that video. I'll be leaving that in the description box as well. So the thing is this right here. What exactly are you looking to gain from this? Now, guys, there are a lot of different directions we could go here, but they ultimately lead to one eventual outcome. More than likely, former President Trump winning in 2024, the general as a whole, and I'll be explaining why here in a second. However, the video is titled, "Is America Dead and Is It Dying?" That right there will be mostly the meat of this video, because a lot of people are looking at this and they're saying it's just a continuation of a political persecution. Well, the thing you have to understand is that these people view Trump as an, don't worry, I can't even find the words of this. Of course, I'm even going a little bit off the cuff, but just know that Nancy Pelosi came out and basically said that he is guilty, guilty, guilty. And of course, Twitter, of all places, basically corrected her, fact-checked her. Basically, in this country, you are innocent until you're proven guilty. So we've already talked about the charges in previous videos, that they already fall 2 years outside the state statute of limitations in New York State. Alvin Bragg had to elevate a misdemeanor to a felony. They're claiming it's 34 separate charges of business fraud. However, the thing is this right here. Let's just say you do convict President Trump. Let's say you do convict him, and let's just say you want to lock him up. Okay, so we're going to have to lock up the Secret Service to go along with him because he's afforded that protection for the rest of his life. So basically, you have to build a brand new facility in order to do that. So don't be thinking for 2 seconds that he's just going to be living some life of absolute suffering. That is not what the hell is going on here. If anything, he'll just be reduced to paying a fine, of which, by the way, he can still run for president. You're making this guy a legend. It's almost like what Chris Rock said the other day. You're turning him into Tupac. Do you really and truly want to turn this guy into a cultural icon, which, by the way, many people already view him as such? The thing is this right here. This right here has got extremely bad political optics. By the way, I'll also be leaving this video right here from Sticks, Hex, and Hammer in the description box as well. He made some very good points on this morning, but we have to talk about this because a lot of people are thinking to themselves, well, my God, where the hell are the Republicans on this? Where the hell are the moderate Democrats on this? Where are the actual freedom-loving Americans who are not political on this? And my response to that is this right here. People are beginning to wake up, as you will see right here.
The law, the rule of law, even if the rule of law is ridiculous, conservatives will follow the rule of law. Unlike liberals that say, well, the law is flexible. This is sort of the difference in just the basic mentality of a conservative versus a liberal. A conservative has a mentality naturally of I uphold the law, I observe the law, no matter how ridiculous the law is. Liberals, on the other hand, say that law is ridiculous, break the law. We don't need that law. We can kind of bend the rules. We can bend things. This is why one group is very by the book constitutionalists, and the other group says it's a living document that needs to be interpreted differently depending on the circumstances and the times. So fundamentally, by nature, ingrained in their brain, I would say conservatives are very law-abiding citizens. So I would not expect to see riots in the streets, burning buildings. I'm not expecting any of this at all. We didn't see that when Trump, when Biden, when they announced that Biden won the election. We did not see riots in the streets. Of course, there was January 6th, but that was a one-time event. It was a very actually smaller event, actually. I mean, there were a lot of people there, but it was one place in the country. It wasn't, this didn't happen everywhere. We didn't see George Floyd-style Black Lives Matter protest over Donald Trump and Joe Biden. We just didn't see that. So I don't expect that. I don't expect that, although, like I said, Democrats would love nothing more. And if they're going, if there's ever a time to utilize the big brother state, the surveillance state, to try to justify an expansion of it, to try to paint Americans as terrorists that they need to surveil, this would be the time to do it. So I'd be looking for those bad actors who are trying to rile people up. I'd be looking for those people for sure. This is an extremely authoritarian move by Democrats. This is going to turn a lot of people off. This is one of those moments where some people are saying this is not only sealing the Republican nomination for Donald Trump, but this is sealing the presidency for him as well. That there are going to be so many people disgusted by the authoritarian behavior of the Democratic Party that they will just shun the party. They will say, that's it, last straw. I didn't even like Trump. And many of us are in that camp. I'm one of those people. I didn't vote for Donald Trump ever. But this time, I didn't vote for Donald Trump ever. But this time, and I think a lot of people are feeling that way, that they just are so disgusted by the Democrats, their behavior, that they can't allow them to keep winning office, that they need to lose in order to be taught lessons, that they cannot continue to behave this way.
Really quick, guys, I do not endorse Kim Iverson or most of her views. She is, for the most part, a moderate Democrat. She is telling the truth. She did not vote for Trump in 2016 or 2020. To my knowledge, she did not vote in 2020 because she thought both sides were in the wrong. I can understand where she was coming at with that, but at the same time, though, yeah, she would also say some other things in that video that I thought were absolutely stupid. For example, they're doing this so that way they can make Trump the nominee in 2016. Well, let me go ahead and give you guys a little bit of education on that one. While that may sound good, because you see, they think Trump is easier to beat. Let me go ahead and just kind of throw this at you really quick. Donald Trump won in 2016 for a myriad of factors. One of those factors is the fact that Hillary Clinton was not a strong candidate. As a matter of fact, I didn't think she was ever going to become president. That was as early as 2012, 2013. Because of Benghazi and everything that was going on, her corruption, the fact that nobody really truly liked her. And even though she was a strong candidate for moderates, I felt she was not going to win. Still, though, Trump still got enough votes to get him over, 62.9 to be exact, 62.9 million, I mean. In 2020, he got 74.2 million voters. He is still maintaining most of the base. Most of the base that is still a little bit on the fence on him about him, they would still ultimately come around to him if he was the nominee, still getting anywhere between 90 to 95% of that actual base itself. And not to mention the fact he would probably gain a lot more independence, especially now seeing how, you're going through a pure political hit job. The guy that you're saying the Democrats are scared to face is actually the easiest person for them to beat, and that's actually what they're doing. They did that in 2012 with Mitt Romney. The reason why they wanted to face Mitt Romney is because they had a whole history of flip-flops they could go to hurt him with his own base, and as a result, you had 8 million voters who voted Republican in 2010 simply decided to stay home the following election, and Mitt Romney lost that election. In the case of Ron DeSantis, it's a little bit different. He is a very good governor. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been hard on Ron recently because there are some cases where he has not governed to the right enough, like, for example, in the case of the Parental Rights Act. He only went to the 3rd grade. Or how about the fact that he chose to revoke licenses over the child drag show at the hotel recently And instead of actually signing laws that would, quite frankly, lock these people up for doing this type of crap in front of our children. And of course, when you see people like Karl Rove and some of the Bushes beginning to back him, and of course, the very, very aggravating personalities on Twitter, one of which is Pedro Gonzalez. Really, to tell you the truth, and I talked about this a lot yesterday in the video. That's one of the reasons why I'm leaving it in the description box, is that Pedro Gonzalez and John Cardillo, these guys are just paid shills. They really are. Gonzalez, by the way, reported that Trump's original arrest was fake and he was using it as an opportunity to fundraise. Literally within minutes of him posting that, he had to delete that tweet because then they announced that Trump was being indicted. Gonzalez, unlike H.A. Goodman, is an actual grifter. H.A. Goodman was a Bernie bro who got red pilled when Bernie got jack-legged out of the nomination in 2016. He voted for Trump in 2016, and ever since then has become much, much more conservative and much, much more red-pilled, and he has stayed loyal for the most part to that movement, whereas Pedro Gonzalez, he was a hardcore Bernie bro that then switched to Trump and then turned right back around shortly before Trump was pulled from office, began to start switching to other people, and ever since then he's turned mostly into a hardcore never-Trumper. This is one of the reasons why we'll get to that phrase that I mentioned at the very beginning of the video. The fact of the matter is this right here. This is the problem with America at this moment in time. We have a lot of very, very bad personalities and a lot of very, very bad actors going out of their way to assert their own personal means. As a result of this, it has created much, much more division. Of course, the Democrats being at the very top, but the never-Trump Republicans, in my opinion, are just as bad, if not a lot worse. We may do a special video in the future on the rhinos and the rhino class and why it is there are certain figures that you just cannot trust. Now, I'm not saying that people should be loyal to a political candidate or anything like that. That is your choice. Obviously, I have my preference. You have yours. That is the way that things are. You have the freedom to choose. However, what you don't have the freedom to do is you don't have the freedom to keep trying to prosecute somebody for a misdemeanor that's been elevated to a felony that falls 2 years outside the statute of limitations, meaning that even if you do charge him, even if you do convict him in a kangaroo court, he's just going to win on appeal, and he's probably never going to serve a single day in jail or serve a single day in prison because, as I said before, what are you going to do? Are you going to lock up the Secret Service with him? You'd have to spend millions, maybe even billions of taxpayer dollars to create a facility for him, of which, by the way, he can still even run for president. There is no constitutional provision that states that he cannot. We've argued over the constitutionality over this on multiple occasions. Don't worry, I will leave links in the description box. Fact of the matter is, though, we have something a little bit more pressing at hand. Now, guys, this video is roughly about 4 minutes long. Make sure you guys listen to it all the way through. I'll be going on the other side to talk about exactly what is being said and provide a much more broader analysis.
So let me, I've got a couple of things here for you. Let me just go through. I'm going to bring I think a different perspective to this. We have the banking crisis. They say it's fine. It's just beginning. Yesterday, we had the Saudis and Brazil and China enter a deal to where the petrodollar is over. Brazil and China are going to trade in their own currency. That's the beginning of the end of our currency. That means a dollar collapse. That means we become Venezuela. We will have war with China. We will have war with Russia and Iran. We have the restrict bill. We have social media and our NSA and everybody else in bed with each other, silencing people. We, of course, have the raccoon dogs, which we all know is bullcrap. And now this week we have a new gun grab that they're trying to do. Biden and his family taking money from the Chinese. What do you think this Donald Trump thing is really all about? The America that we knew, the fundamental transformation that started in 2008 is finished. We are no longer viewed as a superpower. We are now an elderly, we're Joe Biden just walking into the twilight. What this is all about, I believe, is trying to inflame this country. They've wanted violence from the right from the beginning. They can't wait it. They need it. Because if we strike out, look at January 6th, the day they're letting the shaman out of prison because it was all trumped up. Thank you, Tucker Carlson, for revealing this. The day they're letting him out, They do this to Donald Trump. They want you to strike out. Why? Because then they can close the cage. I'm going to make another prediction for you, Tucker. You said I got it right. Well, everything I've been talking about since '08, this is the time. I'm going to make a prediction. By 2025, we are going to be at war. We are going to have a new dollar, a currency that probably is coming from the central bank. We'll have a currency collapse, and we will live in a virtual police state. I know that might sound crazy to a lot of people. It's not far off. The Bill of Rights is gone. Nobody is paying attention. Where are the Republicans? Where are the decent Democrats that can see this is insanity? Donald Trump, the reason why this is going to help Donald Trump, and that's why I don't think they're doing it so he can't run. They're doing it because they want people to strike out. Please turn to God, repent, pray for our country, pray for peace. Put on the full armor of God. But here's what they miss. Donald Trump is not even a person anymore. He is a symbol. He is a symbol of the average everyday guy that keeps getting screwed every single time. Watches other people screw up big banks, screw up their companies, and get away with it. They see people all the time doing stuff that they know if they did, they'd be in prison for 20 years. But because they're not part of the elite, they get away with it. Donald Trump has taken arrow after arrow, and that's why this is the way the average American feels tonight.
Yeah.
I hope that there's a few Democrats out there, but this guy has been taking the bullets for the average person now for years. And people on the right feel like he's the only guy that really gets what the people are feeling, and it's not gonna end well for the Democrats in the next election. It's just
really quick,
not.
when it comes to Glenn Beck, I want to say this, okay? Glenn Beck has a tendency to be right. However, Glenn Beck's predictions typically tend to fall 2 to 4 years outside the bounds. Let me give you an example. He said we would be in war before 2025. I personally think it's more akin to maybe 2028. And the reason why is because we quite frankly are not ready for war. Now, guys, there's a project that I'm working on that's set to be released tomorrow. It's a 2-part project about the incoming crisis with single men, especially given the fact that you've got roughly 2/3 of men that are single in this country of a certain age, the actual age of when you would want to have children. And you got roughly 1/3 of single women. Now, this is obviously a problem because you got to be thinking to yourself, why is nobody getting married? We'll touch more about that in that project. However, when you factor in everything else he said about the financial system, central banking, you factor in the rampant inflation, the recession, there's probably going to be a massive effort of recruiting men to join the military here soon. So who are they going to mostly recruit? Single men. However, doctrine change, going through a doctrine change, it takes a long time to get that ready, to get these men ready for war. So I don't think we're going to be in war in 2025. I also don't think that the current administration will be the administration post-2025. So there is that. I believe we'll be going through a reform term here soon. The thing you have to understand about the situation with Glenn is that he's mostly right. He normally ends up being correct, except he ends up being correct by a few years or being a little bit late. That's primarily what you got to think about with Glenn Beck. Yes, he gets it right, but normally the timing is a little bit off. However, there is this one thing that I do need to say. We are at a constitutional crisis. We have a political party that's completely abusing power, and then we have a certain section of the other political party that is going out of their way to allow this to occur. Now, maybe there are strategic reasons behind this. I've already said that if you indict him, you basically make him a martyr. You make him a martyr not just to the base, but you make him a martyr to the rest of the public. And a lot of people who are kind of like, how do I say, let's put it this way here. There were a lot of people in 2020 who voted for Joe Biden based upon what was going on with the pandemic. They thought that, hey, look, obviously our governor does not want to work with the president. Of course, this right being in states like, say, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Michigan, where you had Democrat governors, Nevada too, or you had Democrat governors who did not want to work with the president. So obviously, a lot of people said, "Look, yeah, I just want the nightmare to end. Just put Biden in office." And I've already told you, you probably won't have those voters show up. But if you really and truly want to ensure those voters show up and vote for Donald Trump, all you have to do is indict him, because then they're going to realize, wait a minute. If they're indicting the former president of the United States, they can come get me for anything in the world they want. So if anything, you just added to the Trump base, and you just added to the Trump overall vote in the general. This was political suicide. Whether he is a symbol or not, I am not going to go that far. However, I have decided to take to giving the left a brand new term. It is because of this that I, from now on, will be referring to my left-wing opponents, my liberal opponents, my Democrat opponents, the Never-Trumpers. I will be referring to them from now on as, you know what the hell, let's just go ahead and straight up call them the infected. And in any attempt at unity or possible unity, and I want you to think about this, because this right here could make the whole situation much, much more chaotic. I want you to think about this really quick. As you guys obviously heard earlier, as I refer to these people as the infected, here's a good reason why. Let me give you an example of what I mean by this. Most sensible, rational leaders would realize that this entire ordeal is just crap. As I have said already in this video, 2 years outside the statute of limitations, you really truly can't do anything. Well, the current president was asked about this morning, and of course, there's a tweet out there. Of course, he said that he had no comment. Now, let me throw this at you really quick. Let's just say that you do indict former President Trump. Let's say he goes through all the motions and everything, and it's election time, and Biden thinking that maybe it might be a good idea to maybe add some additional independents. What if I actually pardon him? This way, of course, it kind of softens the blow in the MAGA crowd, which, by the way, that would not happen, because they would still very, very vigorously vote for Donald Trump. Also, one more thing, too. If he did this, he would also piss off the leftoids that helped put him in office. You see, Biden had a combination of all kinds of voters. I already talked about this a little bit earlier, or I may be mentioning it again here soon, that a lot of these voters just wanted the pandemic to end. So they just went ahead and voted however the hell they voted. So that way, hoping that regardless of what might have happened, they might have been like, you know what, we got somebody else in office. Maybe Trump can do this again in 2024, which, by the way, he obviously is. I just want this nightmare to end now. But, of course, Biden still needed the very, very large Bernie Sanders crowd, the very, very large left-wing crowd that hates Trump more than anything. Yeah, if he was to actually do this, it would probably alienate his own base as well, and it would create much, much more chaos. To the DeSimps. And what I mean by the DeSimps, obviously Pedro Gonzalez. I'm talking about John Cardillo, who this morning's tweets are really very interesting. It's almost as if to say that he's trying to get back on the side of MAGA, seeing how a Poros, we have to say it that way here on YouTube, Back District Attorney is going after Donald Trump. Of course, now he wants to take the side of MAGA and say, even though he's obviously a paid shield. I have to tell the DeSimps this all the time. Your game does not surprise me. As a matter of fact, it actually matches the exact same MO as the 2016 original Bernie Bros. This is one of the reasons why I keep referring to them as DeSimps. They're not even real people, not even real voters. They say some of the very, very weirdest stuff. Don't worry, I will be bringing that back at a later date. But all these people saying that it makes Ron DeSantis look very good need to understand that DeSantis' chance at 2024 practically died last week when he took 3 days to even answer a question. And now his statement, of course, doesn't even mention Trump by name. Dude, he is a Florida resident. He is one of your residents, okay? Maybe you should have said it by name. Now, granted, I don't think that DeSantis will comply. I don't think that DeSantis will actually allow Trump to actually get indicted. I believe he will fight for him because, obviously, it's politically expedient. DeSantis probably knows himself, even though the people behind him don't seem to realize this, but his 2024 chances have absolutely died at this moment in time. He's doing this to try to set up for 2028, but even at that pace right there, I'm not so sure that we can even, clamp that little bit down. So, yes, you can also throw the Never-Trumpers into the class that I'm about to mention. So, yes, I will be referring to my leftist opponents going forward as infected, Walker, minds of mush is basically what this is, biter, zombie. That's what I'll be referring to them as because obviously this right here is something completely different than communism. Let me explain something to you guys really quick. Fascism, communism, socialism, National Socialism, the type of fascism they had in Britain right before World War II, they are all forms of Marxism. If you actually read the doctrines of Marx, if you actually read the doctrines of Giovanni Gentili, you will find out that all of these lifestyles and all of these ideologies come from the left. Now, let me say this really quick. Giovanni Gentili, Karl Marx, Engels, Adolf Hitler, Benito Mussolini, Joseph Stalin, Vladimir Lenin, Vyacheslav Molotov, Malenkov, Lavrenti Beria, Nikita Khrushchev, Mao Zedong, Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, his father, Kim Il-sung. I would also suggest Ho Chi Minh. I would say Pol Pot. I would say Saddam Hussein. I would say all these authoritarian leaders, including Fidel Castro and Che Guevara, would not be caught dead in any one of these child drag shows. As a matter of fact, they would probably, I can't say the word or else YouTube would delete this channel, but they would probably do that to the people who actually did that. And by the way, I'm not saying this to be pro. I'm just simply saying that the modern day commie is really more like the modern day fascist, more like the modern day authoritarian than what their doctrine was. Like I said, this right here is almost purely satanic is what they're doing. But then again, though, at the same time, though, Satan is obviously the infected's God. So I just figured I would throw that out there. Guys, John Claymore here. No, America is not dead. I think, if anything, we're just going through a bit of a spiritual battle here. If you guys like this content, hit that like button, subscribe, share the video. And if you really and truly want to piss off the infected, leave a comment. I'd really and truly love to hear what you've got to say. And I will see you guys later.